Waiting is hard. Last year, close to 112,000 children in foster care were waiting for adoption, and more than 20,000 left foster care without a formal connection. The children that leave foster care without a connection are likely to face significant issues before they are 24. Children that are adopted do significantly better in adulthood. The Adoption Exchange believes that no child deserves to be alone for a lifetime. We work to connect the thousands of children in foster care with loving, caring adults. Through intensive, child-focused recruitment and evidence-informed family support services, we find caring adults who can change a child from a statistic to a success story. The Adoption Exchange partners with federal, state, and local governments to create and implement programs that find homes for kids. Let's look at a family that ended the waiting for several children. The Purvis family.
We met in China in 2000, and we were on a trip where we were serving in orphanages and other work around China, mostly in Hong Kong and Beijing. I was interested in adoption since I was a little girl. I used to beg my parents to adopt me an older brother. I always knew that that was going to be part of my story, was to adopt.
It definitely started with, if I wanted her heart, this was a piece of her heart, so I needed to take that too. Trey is our oldest. He's 10, and he's biological. I was born with cleft lip, bilateral cleft lip and palate, and I'm also missing toes. It's part of a syndrome. And he was born, and he was missing fingers. So I got the face and the toes, he got fingers and toes. He loves all things military. He's a brilliant strategist, I would say.
I would describe Trey as a really fun kid. I think most adults really enjoy being around him. He's an old soul, and I think he gets more of life than, like, the big picture than most 10-year-olds.
He's the athlete of the family, but he definitely has an athletic gift. He has a lot of challenges from the way he came into the world.
Demetrius is the most sensitive kid. We were the 7th home that he had been to. He came to us at 2.5, and he had been bounced around from shelters to different foster homes before that. So when he moved in with us, he didn't really believe that that was it, you know. Even after we adopted him, he said, you know, how many more days till I have to leave? So he didn't really understand what permanency meant. And I would say even still today, that's probably one of his biggest struggles, is understanding, like, this is it. Noah came to us 5 days, 5 pounds, and we were actually his 3rd home. He had been born at home and then had gone to another foster home who said that he cried too much, and so they wanted him moved, and so then they called us.
True to his namesake, loves animals. He is hilariously funny. He enjoys making people laugh. He has a big personality.
And then they called us about a week later and said, if you want to keep him in your home, he has an older sister who we want to place him with, and so you would need to be willing to say yes to her. And so then Layla moved in 3 weeks later.
Layla is our artist and our aspiring theatric dancer.
She cares in a motherly way, and not in a inappropriate motherly way, but in like a, I want to take care of my people. You know, at school, she walks Noah to his class every day, and her teacher gets mad at her, and she's like, no, this is my little brother, I walk him to class, you know, and she'll fight for her people, and so she's awesome. We never would have said, let's have 5 kids in 18 months. That never would have been the plan, but we went from 1 to 5 in 18 months. And we definitely never would have added on a pregnancy for those last 9 months.
Because her mom is so strong, that is where Charlie gets her quiet strength, I would say. She's very strong. Of course, she has to be. She's the baby of 5. And all of them have very strong personalities in different ways. And she's no exception. And she is our girly girl.
But we call her a warrior princess.
Warrior princess.
Yeah. But there's one story where Charlie was learning to walk, and we were all standing here in the living room, and we're all around clapping and saying, "Charlie, take a step." And she, eventually kind of wobbles over, and we're all like clapping and yay, yay, good job. And I'm holding her, and Dee ran down the hall and slammed the door, and he was crying. And so I handed Charlie to David. And I went after Dee, and he was in our room, and he was sitting on the floor crying, and I sat next to him and I said, "Dee, what's wrong?" And it was kind of those visceral sobs. And he said, "No one clapped for me when I learned to walk." And it was like one of those moments where I knew like he had to be here in this moment to get this healing that he needed. So I had him stand up and walk to me, and I clapped, and it was just this really beautiful moment that we never would have said, "Oh, let's have a baby to heal some of our," never would that have been something that we thought of. But it was perfect, and he was able to kind of go through some of those moments that he missed. And I think it's brought him and I closer, but really all of us closer. Now I should get a clean.
Adoption and foster care is so multifaceted, and it's not only complicated because there's so many parties involved, but you're dealing with kids and or families that have been traumatized.
I think there's nothing more precious than your voice, and you can't. There's nothing more powerful, and so when a kiddo feels like their voice isn't heard, that's the worst thing that can happen to a child. And so to have the Adoption Exchange step into this chaotic system and speak up and be the voice for these kiddos, there's nothing more important.
Since 1983, the Adoption Exchange has served 8,401 children like Noah, Layla, and Demetrius, and 68,250 inquiring families like the Purvis family. To provide the intensive recruitment services every child deserves, it costs $5,000 per child per year. No child deserves to wait another day. Help us serve all children and all families.
I've never met a professional with the Adoption Exchange who has not done their job, not only professionally, but with their whole heart.